Hey guys, we're going to take a musician's look at Razer's new condenser microphone, the Siren. Now, Razer is known for manufacturing PC gaming peripherals like keyboards, mice, and headsets. Because video game streaming has become popular and the need for good audio is in high demand, it is natural that Razer would market into this as early as possible. At least when it comes to other gaming-only brands like Asus, Corsair, or Turtle Beach. Now, I'm a musician and a gamer, so I jumped on the pre-order for this as soon as I'd heard about it. In this video, I'll be comparing the microphone to other various mics in its class, USB and XLR alike. If you want my 2 cents on USB microphones in general, click on one of the 2 videos in the annotations next to me. Because Razer claims that this mic is studio ready, and they are challenging some top names in audio like Blue and Audio-Technica, who not only perfected USB microphones, but have been working with audio for longer than Razer has been around, I'll be testing the microphone with everything from the voice all the way to a single instrument and a full band. I planned on unboxing this mic live to show you all the awesome packaging, but I f***ed that part of the video up. Look at this shit. It is absolutely atrocious. I don't know what happened. I think I forgot to set the ISO, but it looks like it was shot from something worse than a cell phone camera from the 1990s. The Siren is nicely packaged and ready to use right out of the box with a 10-foot threaded USB cable along with the microphone and a stand, along with a few screws to hold the mic and stand together. The microphone itself is built very well out of very high quality plastic, and like I said, the threaded cable is also high quality. The back end of the microphone is actually the end with the logo on it, and it also has the pattern switching and gain switching controls, which is a good idea to have this on the back, as you're not going to really adjust it after you set that once. The front end has the volume for the headphone output, as well as a mute switch and an OLED screen telling you all the information about volume and pickup patterns. The features that you would need readily accessible while the microphone is recording, if you would need to at all, for essentially the monitoring and just a quick reference to what exactly is going into the microphone. Inside the microphone are 3 14mm custom-tuned condenser capsules. They record at a maximum of 192 kHz at 24 bits. Now later on, after the demo portion, I will explain the kilohertz and bit ratio, at least my understanding of it. The capsules have 4 adjustable patterns, which are cardioid, omnidirectional, bidirectional, and stereo. On the box, it does claim to be a plug-and-play device, but you will have to have Razer Synapse running at least essentially to get the microphone started up. You can exit out of the software, but you are going to have to get the computer to recognize it via the software. On the bottom, there's a switch to turn the LED logo on or off, an input jack for the headphone, for the built-in headphone amplifier, and a standard boom pole thread, which I believe is 3/8, as well as the input for the USB cable. This dent on the side was completely my fault. When I initially went to go put the pop filter on the stand, I put the base of the pop filter too high up, and when I went to swivel the microphone to adjust it, I kind of forced it through that metal base of the pop filter, and it ended up causing this little bit of a dent here, which again was my fault. The braided USB that it comes with, which is, again, 10 feet, is mini USB, not the Type B, what I call doghouse USB, which usually comes with these types of audio devices. The mini USB is a lot more common, and the Blue Yeti also features this USB connection. The stand that it comes with is actually one of the best that I've seen on USB microphones in its class. It's built very well, and it has a nice rubbered edge on the bottom so that it won't do any damage to your surface. Made out of metal. When it comes to taking the microphone off the stand, it is kind of easy, but there is one problem. There are tiny pieces that come along with it. So if you're going to be doing it often, if you want to take it off the stand and put it on, let's say, a boom pole stand, you're probably going to want to leave it on that, because when it comes to aligning it back and forth and putting it into the stand using these little pieces is time consuming. What I've actually had to do is kind of move the stand to the side, leave the microphone on the stand, move the stand to the side, and sort of screw the microphone onto the boom pole and just have the microphone resting, or the stand resting on the boom. The $40 newer shock mount, which is supposed to be kind of universal, is not going to fit this microphone as it is too big. And the optional shock mount and pop filter that's supposed to be with the Razer Siren is unavailable at this time. The box is not only stylish, but serves really well as a carrying case, which I definitely recommend you put this microphone in if you're going to be traveling with it. If you plan on using the microphone with an iOS device using an adapter, you will find it a bit tricky, as it's going to immediately prompt you and tell you that it does not have enough power for the microphone, because you won't be able to use all the features. You will be able to get a recording using some software, but it will drain your battery. The blue snowball, however, does work without killing your battery way too fast. Now, I've only tried this on a few iPhone devices. I have yet to see if it's going to work on iPad devices. The Yeti is compatible with iPad, so I'm going to check the Siren and flash on screen if it is compatible with the iPad. And let's go through the patterns. I'm going to switch to right over here. This is bi-directional mode. It's picking up not just what the cardioid would, which is in front of the microphone, but it's also picking up behind the microphone as well, to get a little bit more room noise. Bidirectional is good for interviews, instruments, and vocal duet. If you want to record instruments with a little bit more room noise specifically behind it, then the bidirectional is good for that. Let's switch them once again to omnidirectional. This is all around. It's picking up. This is perfect for room noise. This is perfect for atmosphere. On the box, it says events and conference calls. So if you only have one microphone and you really want to pick up everything, then again, you want to switch it to the omnidirectional mode. It's going to get everything around, and it's going to create, it's going to capture the ambience. For field recording, for things like Foley, for anything like that, it would be perfect. Like it says, conference calls. So if you're going to be using this on Skype and you want the entire desk of people to be heard, then omnidirectional is ideal. And finally, we've got the stereo mode, which is sort of the bidirectional mode turned to its side. The bidirectional picks up what's in front and what's behind the microphone. This will pick up side to side. Now, I'm not a singer by any means, but I will demonstrate some of my best vocal talents to see what the dynamic range of this microphone is, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this next part. It's hard to really tell when you're sober, 'cause when you're not, it's all the same. Did you get what you wanted? Well, too bad. Did you get what you needed? Oh yeah! Well, did you fall in love? I felt they rise up in me, kneel down and clear the stone of leaves. I wonder how well you can see inside the shell I wait and bleed. Feeling good on a Wednesday. Yeah, I am Lord, Lord, yeah. At first I had a little trouble recording with the Razer Siren. I tested the mic with various DAWs on different computers, specifically Apple Logic on my Mac and Sony Acid on my PCs. When I recorded the full band with Sony Acid the first time, I got this. Initially, I thought the microphone didn't have that much headroom and I was going to tear Razer a new ass for sounding worse than my built-in camera mic. Upon further investigation, I found out that the problem was actually Sony Acid. For some reason, Acid was not detecting my sample rate and frequency settings, even though the mic was set up properly via Razer Synapse. I would get an error telling me that the mic could not record at 24 bits and it could not record at 96 kilohertz, which the microphone clearly can. Believe it or not, Audacity, which is a freeware DAW, was able to behave and record to the mic's actual potential. Anything that you heard that was done musically was probably done on Audacity. With the microphone, I was pleasantly surprised at how capable it really was. It held up fantastically to the microphones that I threw against it. Now, you have to keep in mind those microphones were extremely random and they were at various price points. I just really needed to throw some different condenser microphones into the mix. But even at higher low volumes, the definition of the clarity was a lot higher. When you listen to the Blue Snowball, you'll hear that it's a lot quieter than most of the other microphones. That doesn't mean that the Blue Snowball is less quality, because the mic doesn't clip at all. The mic does pick up the bass, the drums, as well as the guitars and the vocals separately. It's just, it doesn't have the headroom that the other microphones have. But the Blue Snowball is also cheaper than the Razer Siren. But compared to the other microphones, specifically the V67 XLR microphone and the Tascam recorder, the definition of each frequency when it came to the bass, the mids, and the treble, especially the treble with the Razer Siren, it was extremely clear and defined. If you heard any clipping, that was probably due to the Sony Acid recordings that I was using. With the drums, I was using that, and if you heard any clipping, especially in the high frequencies, that was due to the software, not the microphone. Now, I wish I had a Blue Yeti Pro to directly put this microphone against, but I do assure you that that microphone also has a 24-bit 192 kilohertz maximum range, so the capability of that mic sound-wise is going to be directly comparable and just as high quality, so it's not going to be any worse when it comes to that matter. The microphone has a really high fidelity, being 24 bits at 192 kilohertz maximum. It also records at 16 bits and all frequency settings from 44.1 to 192 kilohertz. You might be asking, why not always record at the maximum sample and frequency rate? In short, the bit rate at 24 is fine. In fact, 24 bits gives you the maximum headroom and sound floor and dynamic range. But the higher frequency rate is variable to your sonic needs. So higher frequency rates like 96 or 192 kilohertz, the more higher and treble sounds are defined, and if you don't need that, your file might be larger than you want for no reason at all. For example, if you're recording a piccolo or a screeching loud lead guitar with tons of overdrive, those high frequencies have a tendency to cause some clipping. With those types of recordings, you're probably going to get frequencies that you can't hear but are present, and the microphone is going to be able to pick that up. But because the fidelity of the microphone might be set a little bit too low, what would happen is those frequencies will fold over and will cause clipping. But not clipping to all your frequencies, meaning your entire audio recording isn't going to clip, just the highest frequencies. And so you'll hear some weird clipping in higher frequencies if you're not set at the appropriate frequency rate when you do have these extremely high treble instruments. However, that is an extreme, and you'd probably have to experience some of this clipping before you'd ever want to set your mic to this extremely high fidelity. Now, if you are getting that sort of extremely high treble clipping, higher frequency capture rates like 96 or 192 kilohertz will sonically help in those situations. So in short, frequencies like 44.1 kilohertz or 48 kilohertz will not distress the quality of your recording. And as a rule of thumb, generally those two are perfectly fine, and if you are ever going to have any problems with that fidelity, you have the option to set it up with these high quality microphones. Now, the Razer Siren is not going to color your sound, meaning you're going to get a decently flat response when you do get captured audio, which means that it's going to be a pretty neutral sound level to the frequencies it's going to pick up. Everything that you hear in the room or what you're recording at the time is going to be almost exactly what you're going to get with this microphone. So what Seiren's going to be bringing to the table here is going to be the features of the mic at the price point, brand recognition, and what your needs will be when it comes to a condenser microphone. If you're only podcasting, making vlogs, or Twitch streaming, this mic may have more features than you need. You might not need to switch the patterns because you'll most likely stay in the cardioid position. This mic shines at versatility though. The ability to compensate YouTube vloggers, streamers, podcasters, and musicians in a single product. For musicians, you're going to want to remember one thing. Razer is a gaming company first, and this is their first step in pro audio outside of a soundbar. You will have to be comfortable with the Synapse software. If you own other Razer gear, you're probably going to be familiar with the Synapse software. If you haven't before, it is essentially just the iTunes of Razer. It's just the common place where everything meets up to update firmware, to put your warranty registration information in, and to change the settings. In the case of the microphone, the bitrate and the frequency. So what do I like about this mic as a musician and a YouTuber? The features. I need a microphone which is versatile enough for any sound situation, and the 3-capsule 4-pickup pattern with 0 latency headphone monitoring will be able to do just that. Also the look and the brand. The fact that Razer has their name on here certainly is intriguing because they claim that the mic is studio quality and they are putting themselves against some big names in audio. There's also no doubt in hell this is a fucking sexy looking product. I also like the price. It's certainly more expensive than most of the competition. Its closest competition, the Blue Yeti Pro, however, is just above $200. So this microphone will beat it out with the $180 price point that I got it at. When you're putting those two microphones together, the features are almost neck to neck. The slight edge the Yeti Pro is going to have is it'll have an XLR output as well as USB, so if you absolutely need to connect to analog, you'll have that. And the Yeti Pro has a stronger frequency response, which is 15 Hz to 22 kHz versus the Seiren's 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Now, we can only hear as human beings 20 to 20K, but there might be certain frequencies that are natural that you might want your microphone to pick up. You might be thinking this is negligible, but those technical features might be worth it if you're in and out of studios all the time. As far as the cons go, I'd love to say something about the optional shock mount and pop filters that you could have gotten as a bundle for an extra $50, but it was not available, and they are still not available. And like you saw earlier, the newer shock mount that you can get for, I think about $35 was also not adequate with this because the shock mount was too small. Compared to the Yeti Pro, it does have less accessories at the moment, but I'm sure that Razer is going to be on top of that as soon as possible. The mic seemed a bit rushed, and I think Razer knows that. An indication is recently they launched their Chroma products where all the logos were color changing inside of Synapse, and this microphone's logo is solid green, but it is also released at the same time. Now, I realize that the logo on the microphone is not the main feature of the microphone. In fact, they let you turn it off so that it's not distracting in your streaming, but it probably would not have cost anything extra to put in an RGB LED in there and let you kind of play around with the colors so that it can match maybe your logo. So there you have it. That is the Razer Siren, as would be used by a musician and YouTuber. This will be my daily driver from now on, along with my Tascam DR07 MK2. I can only hope that Blue sends me a Yeti Pro so that I can answer the question that people are probably going to want to know mostly, is how this mic directly is against the Blue Yeti Pro. If you guys have any questions, ask down below. Like, follow, subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Yeti.